We're just testing, just making sure that the stream is working. It's saying it's still offline. Come on. Hey, right. Now we're back in the driving seat. Hello and welcome to Coffee and Code episode 10. I cannot believe we are on the 10th ever episode. This is insane. We're now in double figures. This is a later show. I usually do this in the mornings around 10, 11 a.m. on a Saturday. So I do apologize for any inconvenience. I just had lots of stuff that I needed to do today. Just seeing family and just having a life. But for anyone really who has just joined, my name's Peter Fisher. I'm the host of the How to Code Well YouTube channel. We do a tutorial on web development every week, which is on a Tuesday. That is, currently I'm working on PHP and MySQL, so PHP and MySQL stuff. We've got a couple of tutorials coming along for those in the next coming weeks, but there's been tutorials on Docker. They've been done on MySQL itself on the console, PHP, lots of PHP tutorials, HTML tutorials, and so forth. Lots and lots of stuff. Also, on the Friday show, there is a what I call a web chat. Basically, it's me just talking to a camera about some things that's happened in the news or something that's happened web development related that I would like to talk about. So, for instance, I think it was last week, I did one on networking, why networking is such a good thing for web developers. So if you're a freelancer and you're going to conferences and so forth, why that is such a good thing to do, and also going to events and conferences that are outside of your comfort zone. I'm a freelancer, so I also talk about a lot of freelance stuff as well. Then on the Saturday, we have this live stream, which is basically an excuse for me to talk about more things to do with web development, but also for me to actually do some code on my own personal projects and talk about that as I do it. So basically, I wanted to find a way of providing more content and to work on bits and pieces that are slightly more advanced than what I do on the How to Code Well channel. And so this is kind of the outlet for that. So today what I want to do is talk about a couple of things that have sort of piqued my interest in the news. And then what we're going to do is do a little bit of coding around the topics that we were playing with last week. Now, if you haven't seen last week's Coffee and Code show, and I must say that they do get archived on YouTube, because for some reason Twitch likes to delete your streams after every 2 weeks. It's not like they don't have enough space, Amazon. But anyway, so if you haven't seen that, I was basically starting to develop a plan, if you will, for the How to Code Well website. We're going to be talking about that. We're actually going to be starting to code that later on, but today I just want to talk about some bits and pieces in the news. Now, this is Coffee and Code, so I usually have a cup of coffee with me, but because it's a Saturday night, because I have beer. So you'll have to bear with me. My throat does get a bit dry. I am suffering a cold, so I'm still trying to get over that. Now, a couple of things that have kind of piqued my interest in the last few last week really, that I want to talk about. There's two things. Firstly, I want to talk about Trump, but I'm going to talk about that in a minute. I don't want to go into too much political stuff with that, but the first thing I want to talk about is WordPress. Trump and WordPress. So if I go to here, sorry, bear with me a minute. It's refreshing. Okay, so this you can kind of see this as a public announcement really, because WordPress had an SQL injection vulnerability that was disclosed quite recently. In fact, this was this blog written by Anthony was disclosed on the 31st of 2017. Now, this issue with WordPress had happened and was acknowledged and known about for some time. However, it's taken a fair amount of time to solve and sort out. I'm not going to go into too much detail about the actual issue. It was just basically how WordPress, the internals of WordPress, handled how the query was created, constructed via some parameters, and there was a way that you can inject certain values and parameters in that would cause an SQL injection vulnerability. So it's basically all about how so you can pass in an array, and those array values will skip, or not skip, that's probably not the right term, can expose a vulnerability. Now, this is fixed in WordPress 4.8.3, I believe, but it has been known since, like, for months, okay? Which means that if your WordPress site is not updated to 4.8.3, then you are still vulnerable. You know, because this, and you've been exposed for several months. This has been known for a while. That's basically the point. This chap Anthony goes on. He was the one who disclosed it. He was the one who pointed everything out. A big kudos and respect to him. But the reason why I'm pointing this out, and what I will do is just put this in the chat here, is because on a previous episode of Coffee and Code, what I did was actually create a WordPress install repository on GitHub, which is this one here, and basically it allows you to install WordPress using Docker and Composer. So Composer being, you know, PHP Composer, will, let me see, if I go to the Apache 2 folder, go into site, we've got the Composer file here. This is basically how I'm installing WordPress using Composer, treating it like a bunch of, well, plugins, I suppose, and themes. But as you can see here, it's only on 4.8.2. We should be running 4.8.3. So the first thing I'm going to do today is sort that out. I'm going to update this now and test that everything still works. So this is going to be running the Docker WordPress install again. I feel like I should have like a soundboard, you know, whenever there's a WordPress incident, I need to make a sound, do something that, you know, public announcement, woo, woo, there has been a vulnerability, that kind of thing. Anyway, so I'll give you the link to that too. Let me just go back to here. So that is the WordPress installation. Essentially, you run all these commands. You can run it through a Docker machine, and you just, you know, install the Composer dependencies, run Composer up, and there you go. You have your WordPress installation. The point of the reason why I did this is because I have, as a freelancer, clients who use WordPress, and this is a very good base sort of foundation that can be forked. And so, you know, there's a lot of time gets consumed by just installing and configuring things. Well, this will allow you to do that. So it talks about, you know, removing containers and all that stuff. So that's what we're going to do. That's the first thing we're going to do. But yeah, I suppose what we could do is run through that now, I suppose, and then I'll jump on to the other story that I wish to talk about. So if you do hear any banging and popping, it's because it's some morons across the road think that tonight is fireworks night, which it isn't. But hey, hi Jalapsy, is that the right pronunciation? Javalipsy. Hello. Hope you're well. Okay, so I'm going to update this, and then I'm going to talk about the other news story that I've got going on, and then I'm going to look at how we can actually create the How to Code Well website using Symfony. So today is kind of like the first foundation of that. Discussed that a little bit last week, but Anyway, before I dive into any of this, we're going to focus on WordPress. We're going to fix this up. As I said, it needs to be on 4.8.3. It's not. I believe it's only on 4.8. Let's have a look. 4.8.2. So that needs to be solved. So the first thing I need to do is just ensure that this still works. So I'm going to go into. Here. Bear with me a mo. I was playing around with this like 10 minutes before the live stream. Then I realized I was running late, so it's kind of half baked. So just bear with me a minute. Back into terminal. Now today I'm going to do something slightly different, because usually I just use the normal, well, on the live stream I just usually use the normal terminal that you get on Mac. But I always use iTerm, and I'm going to use iTerm this time. I guess it's going to be the same. I mean, there is some commands and key mapping that I've altered, but I just wanted to let you know this is slightly different. So this here, if I did pwd, we are in the WordPress installation folder, and I don't believe. Let's do Docker machine active. I can't remember whether or not I actually started this up before the stream. Yes, it is. It is running. So let's do Docker ps-a, and both of those are up, and they've been up for 2 hours. That's a bit odd. I only did this a couple of minutes ago. Anyway, so let's do Docker-machine and then IP, and it's WP install, just to find out what IP address we're running on. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to just, I think what I'll do, let's just do a Docker compose down, just to, Docker compose, just to bring them down, to make sure that they actually go down. Stay down, go down. This is all when it gets a bit odd, because it starts to, there we go, right. Don't hang. Right, now let's just bring these back up again. Up, -D. There we go. I could have just done a restart, I suppose, but whatever. Docker ps-a to make sure that they're all running. Excellent. Right, so now I can copy that, go into a browser, one of the many browsers that I have running here, and then here we go. Oh, there we go. It would help if I actually put the browser window on OBS. Okay, so this is just the basic installation, because the whole point of this is that this shouldn't have anything on it. It should just basically be a very vanilla WordPress install. So literally all I need to do is Docker compose up, and then there you go. You got a WordPress install. So I'm just going to do test, because all of this gets teared down. You know, it's whatever. I just want to make sure that I can actually get to the admin area. Install WordPress. Yes, log in with my super secret password of test. And test. No, don't save that. Right, okay, so updates. So yes, 4.8.3 is available. So I'm going to go back into the code, if I can find that bloody window. Hold on. Is that it? No, that's the wrong one. Hold on. Hold on. Something's gone wrong. Why isn't that showing up on OBS? Oh dear. I want to. I tell you what, let's close that. Bear with me a minute. It's showing the wrong project on WordPress. Opening current window. Ah, there we go. Right. I do apologize. Here we go. So now we're in the install here. So basically, this is just what's on the GitHub repo. But what we're playing with is this bad boy, composer.json. What we need to do is we need to change this to 4.8.3. The thing is, because we're doing it in this kind of manner, we can't just do like this. So we can't just go 4.8 point whatever. We can't do that where it's going to get the next increment up because we are running it. We have to actually define it in here because it's running off of a zip file. There's probably a better way to do this, but this works. But it's going to be a pain in the backside because every time they update WordPress, I'm going to have to do this manually. I can't just do like what I've just said where it's going to update the next minor iteration. But hey ho, unless I suppose I might be able to do something there, but I probably won't be able to put like an asterisk or something in here. I haven't tried it. I'm not going to at the moment. So for now, I'm just going to do 4.8.3 like that, and then like that too. That looks good to me. Double check that. Bring that over here. Yep, that looks good. So save that, and then let's bring that back. Go back into the terminal. Yeah. Let's just clear the screen down. We've got in here. We're not. We need to do. We're going to do Composer, and we're doing. I think, if I remember rightly, if I have a look back onto my notes, which is here, WordPress install. Wow, that was a big firework that just went off. I guess it's because it's a Saturday. Fireworks night is actually tomorrow, and so they're probably doing it now because most of the people are going to be out. Here we go. That's what I'm looking for. Let's just copy that. Documentation is brilliant. Always document your work. Okay, so we're going to go back into the terminal and just run this. The log file is not up to date. Of course, it needs to do an update, not an install. Okay, so that should be updating the dependencies. I suppose what I could have or should have done is just specify that I wanted to just update WordPress, but because of the others, the other dependencies were so small, or there was hardly any of them. The risk of updating anything else was small, so that's fine. Okay, so that looks like it's been updated, which is all good. I'm just going to, well, let's just test that out first. So let's go back to here. Let's clear that down. I'm just going to do a down. Oops. Docker compose down, and then I'll do up again just to make things fresh. Programming when you're drinking beer, it's always slightly dangerous. And then up. Right, that's cool. Make sure that's running. Both of those are up. That's good. So let's go back to the browser again. And I want that window. And I want to just remove that and refresh this page. All right, so it's going to ask me to install everything again, so that's fine. Whatever. Come on. And updates. It's saying that it's 4.8.3. That's peculiar. It should have picked that up. Why is it saying that? Unless maybe am I running any Docker volumes? Maybe let's have a look. Go back to here. Let's do Docker volume. Unless, yes, we are. So okay. Let's go back into the compose. Haven't supplied any there. That's really bizarre. That should have updated. There's no caching or anything going crazy. It's saying it checked 728, which is right. That should, yeah, 729. 4.8.3. That is definitely what we supplied in here. 4.8.3. 4.8.3. 4.8.3. Yeah. Okay. I tell you what, I'm going to try and remove it and the volumes as well, because we got these 3 volumes. I reckon there's something wrong with the volumes. Let's do a Docker. No, this gets me every time. I know what's wrong. In the Docker file itself, what it's doing is it's literally copying the file across, right? And in the Docker Compose file, it's not bind mounting the volume. It really should be bind mounting the volume in, but because so basically this is going to it's not working because I need to rebuild the image. Basically, that's basically what's going on. Let's do Docker image is then do a Docker. Well, I suppose I could do a Docker Compose and then just build. So that should build all of those, put those in there, job done. And then if I did a Docker Compose, let's just do a restart, then that should hopefully work. Come on, restart Apache. Thank you. Back to the browser. Docker images. I'm going to do a Docker. I'm going to just rebuild this. Docker RPS and then Docker RM. Just do a down. And then do well, let's kill that. Let's do a Docker down -v because that's going to remove all the volumes, all the things. So if I did Docker PS, then we don't have that. Docker volume ls, we've got those 2 volumes. Not sure what they are for, so I'm just going to remove them. Docker volume rm, this bad boy, and that one. Yep. Okay, so now I'm going to do a Docker images. Okay, now I'm going to do a Docker Docker image prune -a. Yes. Then Docker images. Okay. Now I'm going to do a build. Nope, no, I'm not. I'm going to do an up -d, and that should build them from scratch. If it doesn't work, restart the machine, as in pull the plug, start it again. That's the beauty of Docker, you see, because you can just sort of throw things away and rebuild them again. So hopefully this will work now. So what I'm going to do is just remove that from that. There we go. Copy that. Right, let's clear that down. Right, hopefully this is all installing all the bits and pieces. Hopefully this will work. This is basically like a massive, big, hard reset. I was hoping this wasn't going to take long. I've got something else I want to talk about before I actually get into the actual proper coding of the Symfony site. Okay, so let's do a Docker PS. Both of them should be up and running. And then if we go into here, let's go into browser mode. Install. Yes. There we go. Okay. So now it's on 4.8.3. I reckon there was an issue there with the volumes. I had two volumes that I wasn't too sure what they were doing. And also I needed to actually rebuild the actual image in order to install WordPress. I think what I'm going to do, I won't do it now because I've wasted a lot of time on WordPress and Docker today. But what I'm going to do later on is take a look at how, if I go into here, is just bind mount, I think, the volume rather than, or when I say bind mount the volume, I mean bind mount site into here, because what I'm doing is copying it in, which is fine. You can copy it, but then I think we need to bind mount it, because that means I can do some work on here which will have direct impact because it is bind mounted. So, okay, so the next thing I need to do then is I'm just going to git commit this up and push it up to the thing. So let's just, I don't think you can see this on the actual on the actual stream, but because it's a new window, but I'm just going to type in bumping version of WordPress to 4.8.3, and I'm going to commit and push all of that up. Right, okay, cool. So now if I go back to the browser again, go into where are we? Which one do I want to go into? This one. Hopefully it will be I can compare and do a merge, because that created a pull request. So I'm just going to commit that, and that should be fine. Yeah, let's merge that in. Let's confirm that merge. Excellent. So that worked. So let's go back up to here. Go into Apache site composer.json, and yeah, you can see it's bumped up to 4.8.3. So now if anyone else uses this, they'll have the updated version of WordPress. Yeah, but I definitely recommend you go through Anthony Ferreira. I think that's the right pronunciation. I hate names. I always get them wrong. I do recommend you go through this. He's also done a good post on background and the timelines of actually how troublesome it was in order to get all of this in WordPress and fixed and sorted and stuff. It went through several it went through a couple of iterations, I should say, some of which broke other bits and pieces. So there was a lot of toing and froing. But you can see there was an example here. somewhere. Yeah. So here you can break, you can put in an injection, SQL injection into that, which will basically cause havoc. And there were certain WordPress plugins. There are certain WordPress which are vulnerable to this, but the fix is within the actual core of WordPress. So make sure it's updated to 4.8.3. Anyway, I'm gonna close that because I've got a warning saying that this page is using lots of memory. So I'm just going to close that down. The next topic I want to talk about is an issue that let's go back into the talking head. The next issue is, well, it's related to President Trump, but it's I want to put a technical spin on it in terms of web development. Basically, what happened recently was that President Trump's Twitter account was shut down by an employee briefly for about 11 minutes. And you can say what you want about that. I mean, it's I'm certainly not going to go on to the political slant here. Whether you like him or whether you don't like him, whether you agree with his stuff or you don't agree with his stuff, I don't really care today. I just want to talk about Twitter, President Trump having that handle and the implications of that going down, because he has something crazy like 40 million followers, and so it was down for only 11 minutes, and it only took that amount of time before anyone noticed. So that's how, that's how many people check his stuff constantly. But what I don't want to talk about. I don't really want to talk about the subject, or the actual thing that went down. I want to talk about Twitter and what that might mean, because the thing is, then Twitter is obviously not giving a lot of stuff away, quite rightly so. But it's come to light that this is the Guardian. I'll put a link in the chat, but it's come to light that this went down due to I think it was so it says it somewhere in here. One of the workers basically turned his account off, and it was his last, or he or she's last day at work at Twitter. So I'll just put that in here. Now I would be talking about this regardless of whoever it was, right? So the fact that it was President Trump is irrelevant. To the point that I'm trying to make, and I'll get to that in a minute. Let's just see. It was I want to say it was some sort of, somewhere it says what type of department did it. I don't think it was a technical department, which was good. But the point I want to make is that if it was a technical department, if it was a development department, someone from the dev team, then then obviously that is bad. I'll just bring that back into view. Here we go. This is what I'm seeing. Sorry, I should have put that on. And the thing is, there are ways in which we can mitigate this risk. There are web development ways that we can do to mitigate this risk, and one of those is by having certain access control rights to prevent people from touching certain things. I've done a lot of work with, I've worked in various for various businesses. Some really small, some extremely large, and there is, regardless of how the size, there is an element of impersonation that one has to have of a customer's account, because if you have a customer complaint, then you want to be able to maybe offer that customer some compensation, or you might want to adjust his account, or maybe even if it is a case of someone who is has a problem, right? So they call up the complaints department or a customer service department, and they say, look, I can't do something on my page, and perhaps they just don't understand it. So what you need to do is impersonate that user's account by logging in as them, as a sort of a super overriding person, and then basically tweak the account on their behalf. Now, I don't know whether that was what happened here, whether the guy was just able to either impersonate this account and deactivate it, or whether Twitter has some sort of privilege that allows certain people in Twitter's organization to deactivate accounts. Now, obviously there are, with regards to there's a whole lot of Russia stuff, right? So they've been deactivating a lot of stuff that's linked to Russia. And not just Russia, but various other troll accounts and all of that stuff. So it might have been that too, but I kind of am leaning towards the sense that perhaps it was this sort of impersonation ability that most companies have to either put your account through a different sort of give your account some sort of benefit, or add things to your account, or whatever, or give you some sort of discount credit or whatever. But okay, regardless of how it happened, regardless of why it happened, it kind of falls to the fact that if you're a person who is just leaving that day, should you be given that amount of power? My feeling is no, you shouldn't. And there are, like I said, web development ways in which to prevent such an incident. For instance, you could have a specific role that you give people on their very last day. I would even give it to them on their very last week, which means that either their access starts to deteriorate, which means that all they can do in the last sort of like 8 hours of their career at that position is extremely limited and locked down. So they can't do anything that is technically, will have this kind of impact. The thing is, this was, it's very difficult to talk about this without talking about the context, in the sense that it was President Trump. So, you could go and think, well, this was probably the least craziest thing that could have happened here. Just imagine if there was an ability to send a tweet on his behalf. Now, I don't think, and I would hope that Twitter certainly don't allow their users to do that. Their employees to do that. I think that but that you kind of start questioning this sort of thing. So basically, my point is that if you're working in a company that allows certain members of their team, development team or customer service team or whatever, certain access to a user's account in a kind of a privileged manner, you must be able to, you must look at the risks for a disgruntled employee who is leaving. What can he do? What can she do? Which is going to cause disruption to the system and everything. And this kind of falls to, in my head, this kind of falls into the category of being disciplined as developers, which is something that I'm not going to get into now, because it's something that I probably will talk about later in more depth once I've kind of formulated it better in my head. But with developers, I personally feel there needs to be a level of more discipline, and there needs to be, because there's going to be lots of challenges and stuff that's happening in the next, I don't know, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years plus, challenges that we are only sort of dreaming about, and the new programmers will be actually dealing with, right? So as teachers and mentors, we have to enable and teach new developers who are coming along discipline, discipline on what they can and cannot do. Because just because you can code something doesn't mean that you need to build it, all right? Just because you have that ability to turn off President Trump's account doesn't mean that you should do it, right? But at the same time, you can't rely on people to do no evil. So you need to have some internal procedures and just internal checks to ensure that this never happens again. Now, I would imagine that Twitter suddenly went through a sort of a call everyone into the boardroom type sort of scenario where it was sort of like, oh my God, what's the worst case scenario? What could possibly go wrong? And then doing some sort of internal review and then sort of locking things down. So they've probably got a load of internal projects going on. Luckily, President Trump hasn't really bashed Twitter about this. But the problem is that if this was something which was a bigger issue, and the thing is, the developers of our generation have done some really bad stuff. I mean, you've got Uber, you've got Volkswagen. They're the two that come to mind in the last sort of year, right? So that Volkswagen testing, that was just not good. I mean, basically, you put the car into a Volkswagen test site, and it basically said if at Volkswagen pass, is valid, that kind of thing. Just skip all emissions testing, yeah. Just because you can code something like that doesn't mean that you should do that. And just because you've got the power to do that doesn't mean you should do it. And I think that there's going to be more challenges coming along, and we need to provide tools, provide training and teaching for our new generation that comes after us. We have an obligation to lay down the foundations. But anyway, like I said, I'm not going to dive into that pool too much. This is probably moving into something that I would do on a Friday chat when I actually sort of script it out and think about it in more detail and sort of all of that stuff. But I wanted to bring this to light because this is something that is kind of a techie kind of thing. And I don't know whether it was a developer who did this or whether it was another department who's done this, but it kind of rang a lot of truth, or not truth. It kind of made me think about some of the tools, some of the things that I've played with before in other companies, thinking, there is a lot of power that us developers can provide and take away. But anyway, whatever. Let's move on from that rambling. Okay, what I'm going to do now is have another drink. And I'm going to go... I can remove that tab now, that's good. I'm going to talk about the thing that we talked about last time, which was, let's go back to here. Nope, not there. Here, there we go. Too many windows open. Right, so last week, I was talking about a website that I wanted to produce, and let's go into here. That's probably better. And it's a Trello website that no, it's not Trello. It's a website. It's a website that's been planned on Trello, and it's a website for the How to Code Well channel. It's basically a place for me to put my content, and also to talk to just have an entry point for my courses. I've got several programming courses, I think I mentioned before, on YouTube, but I've also started migrating those to places like Skillshare and places like Udemy. And so I want to have a kind of a website that displays those things, offers those things, has a possible, I mean, we've got nice to haves here. A forum would be nice. An API would be nice, so I can hook it into other bits and pieces. My way of thinking for this is that this is going to be a continual project, or they'll have lots of sub-projects to it. So there might be an app right? Which would hook into the API. Reporting for me, so it needs to have a content management system, and there's a possible way of signing things up, or signing up, becoming a subscriber. So I do have my newsletter as well, and a possible like login and sign up bits. So you could create your own account there, but these are in the nice to have kind of spectrum. The requirements is that it needs to be responsive for mobile, newsletter sign up like I've mentioned, possible login and sign up. I'm going to bring that, well, that's for admin actually. Let's not that, sorry, this one, admin. Grid view for the YouTube lists. Basically, I want to have a mechanism where I can upload my own, I can put my own videos and either create a list or a grid. The admin area, again, with the video manager and a course manager, so I can actually put my courses on in this kind of content management kind of system. User manager, because I might want other types of users to actually access the admin area, possibly. And also I want to have access to the other users to see them. And a shop manager, because I get asked quite frequently by people, I've just written this programming book, it's on Amazon, are you able to put it on your site or talk about it? Well, I will if it's any good, and if I think the audience will appreciate it. But like I said, I've got a couple of those that I would like to push. I want to minify all the resources, and I want to have some nightly backups. Okay, so we've kind of worked on the to-do. I basically built all this last week, but that's done. So I can just go straight into there. So it's in a Bitbucket repo, and I'll talk about those bits in a minute. Unfortunately, well, I've got lots of boxes in this office, lots of servers, basically Linux boxes, really. And I don't really want to expose those. They do. One of them does have Jenkins on, and it's running a lot of stuff for my clients as a freelancer. So when I do work for a freelancer, I push it through my own Jenkins box before it might go off to another Jenkins box that they own, just so it does a bunch of automated stuff for me. I don't want to expose that. I certainly don't want to show that on the live stream, because obviously it's not data that I want to show, because it's my client stuff. So what I'm thinking of doing is investing in my own box, my own little Jenkins box that I can show in a sort of on the website, the Jenkins website, on this live stream, without the worry that I'm going to be showing anything that I shouldn't be showing, that kind of thing. So there's no worry of going to another sort of page on Jenkins and then displaying other things, right? That's basically what I want to say. Basically, I want to isolate the how to code well stuff, and I think it deserves its own little box. And especially when we get into the API, and especially when we get into the actual the app that I've got in my head that will come after all of this is done. So, and also I do have my own Docker repo here, but again, I would like to have a specific one for the How to Code Well site. I want to try and keep them as separate as possible. Security, and also just not, just keeping it separate, keeping this is supposed to be a side project, right? So I want to keep my side project separate from my everyday. Gulp script, so it will, there's a lot of automation there that I can do, so minifying and uglifying stuff. Python YouTuber, a YouTube download script. Currently my blog, peterfisher.me.uk, is pulling down all the videos through a Python script. I kind of want to do a similar thing, but more automatically through this. I need to create the database schema and the fixtures as well. And I'm going to do all this in Symfony, and we decided to do this in Symfony 3.3. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put that in here, is today I'm actually going to start working on that Symfony 3.3, and Symfony has, well, PHP, I should say, has an internal server. So even though the Docker repo hasn't been done, even though the build pipeline hasn't been done, even though Jenkins isn't ready, even though the Docker images aren't ready, I can still actually work on the actual website itself and plug those in as they come. So today I just want to get Symfony running, and I want to start building it without the worry of a database. I'll worry about that later when we start looking at the database schemas and stuff. So I've got the domain howtocodewell.net, plus I've got other domains as well associated to that. And I just thought, as I bought it, why not just throw something up? So what I've done, if I go back to the browser here, is I just threw this together, right? I just did this very, 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 very quickly, and it's got all of my courses. So this is Docker in Motion from Manning Publications, which you can see here. It's got all the Udemy courses and all the Skillshare courses, which I can scroll down and show you there. But I certainly don't want it to look like this. But this, I guess you can kind of see this as a holding page. So I guess if I can get the Symfony site to look like this tonight, then that's a certain good win. And then I guess what I can do is just I would like to put all of this in a database, but we'll talk about the schema later. The ERD. So I'll actually treat this like a proper project. But I don't think it's going to be terribly difficult because these courses I produced a while ago, but I've packaged them up and put them on Udemy. So we've got Docker Machine for Beginners, and the control structures and string manipulation, which are the same in Skillshare, although this one we've got Docker Containers for Beginners, not Docker Machine for Beginners, sort of as well as. So yeah, that's kind of what I want to do today. That's kind of like the beast of it. So what I'm going to do is, let's see, I need to close that down. Let's go back to File. Come on. No, that's not the right one. I want to do Recent Projects. There she is. And then click on In Current Window. There you go. Okay. So for this, I need to come here. Right. So that was the WordPress stuff. That's all done. So now I'm actually going into here, and it looks like I was faffing about with my bash RC stuff. Let's close that down. No, that's fine. Okay. I can't remember what I was doing there. Let's clear that down. Okay, so we've got 2 tabs open. Why did I have 2 tabs open? There was a reason why I wanted to do that. Let's just muddle along. So, okay, here, ls, yeah. So we are in the project already, and if I go into the tutorial here, we can see that we've just got a very simple index file, which is just basic, it's just HTML, where we've got these tabs, right? And these tabs are controlled via this sort of navigation. And I literally spent like 2 hours just throwing this together. It wasn't a lot. And then we've got the images, which are done in courses. I kind of want that to be better, so it's actually in like courses, then Udemy, then Skillshare, because the images are going to be slightly different because they'll have. I would want them to have different logos on, and then the CSS is a bit of a mess. I must admit. because of all that. That can all be sort of bunched together. Doesn't need to, that's stupid duplication there. But what I've focused on is, if I scroll down, is this is done in a mobile first kind of way. So basically anything up to this point is done in mobile first. So this is all for the mobile, all of that. And then this here checks if the min width is 480 pixels. And if it's over that, because that's the min width, then it will do this as a, with width of 1080. 1084, sorry. So this is kind of like a conditional media query. That's what they call a media query block, which is great. And I'm using Flexbox for this as well. So I've got different columns and widths. I'll show you. If I go to the browser again, go to here, click on you, and then into that, go into, I wonder if you can see this on the stream. I don't know. Let's try it. Okay, so yeah, boom. Here it's on an iPhone 7 Plus. So we scroll, you've got all of these, so the tabs have moved out to 100%, and then that's just been sort of changed to 100%. But beforehand, if I go to that, they were tabs, right? But now, if I go to an iPhone 7 Plus, they're not. It's just this, and you can control them by clicking on the tabs at the top. It's not great. It doesn't look fantastic whatsoever. But like I said, I gave myself like, I don't know, 2 hours just to bash it out. The tabs itself, that was fairly straightforward to do. Let's scroll up to here. Just have a look. What's it on, like on that? Oh, it looks pretty much the same. That's good. Yeah. So if I go back, let's close down responsive design. So the JavaScript then, the thing that's actually putting it all together on, there we go. That's what I wanted to show you. So I forget, but there was a chap who I followed on GitHub, and I forget his name. I'm gonna have to find. I want to find that because I want to give him kudos for this. He's created this amazing tabs object, right? I had to hack it up a bit because I wanted to do it slightly differently. He was getting all of the A tags via class, and I thought that was a bit hungry. So what I did is just get the nav and then get the elements, all the A's within the nav, passing in the EL first. So if I go to index, here we go, scroll all the way down. This will make a bit more sense, I think, to here. So the EL is the tabs container, right? And then you put in the links, which he had as a class. So it was doing a hungry check on that. But it worked wonders. I also needed to alter some bits and pieces around here as well. I really want to. Let me just see if I can find that out. GitHub. So bear with me a minute. GitHub. Oh, it's not even in my history. That sucks. Right, I'm going to find out who it was, and then I'll put his a link to his thing, a link to his GitHub repository in the show notes, because I really want to just give him a sort of a virtual high five, because that script works so well. GitHub.com. Tab JavaScript tabs. No, none of it is in. None of it is on my. I'll have to find it out later. But yeah. So I have altered it a lot to deal with how I would like it to be dealt with. But yeah, no, I found this and I, you know, it worked with the tweaks, and yeah, fine. So yeah, what I would like to do, like I said, is achieve this in Symfony. So what I'll do is have these in like twig templates, right? So like this tab, this bit here will be in a template. If I probably show you better from actually looking at the browser, to be honest. So that can go away. We don't need that anymore. We don't need that anymore. That's fine. So yeah, what I would do is like have a twig template for that, for this, and then a twig template for each one of these. Maybe even this could be a controller that when you click it just renders in or something, and then a template for that, and then the adverts on the right hand side. This certainly isn't going to be how it's going to look when it's live. Okay, so one could argue what's the point, but as a holding page, I'm just going to leave this as it is. But with the Symfony stuff, I haven't really decided how it's going to look yet, how it should look. I don't like the way this looks at all. So, I mean, it's going to look different. But anyway, let's actually start this off, shall we? Let's go back into here. Right, so the first thing I need to do is actually go into the terminal. There we go. And then, oops. Hold on. Too many things open all at once. Right, cool. So we're gonna I just copied that off from the Symfony docs. So this is how you create a project. So using the Symfony framework standard, I'm gonna just call this. Let's go into there. Site. In fact, actually thinking about it, let's just go. Let's do an ls. Let's just do a go into Apache. Yeah, Apache. Yep, and then cd into Apache, and then paste that in. But we're going to do, instead of 2.8, we're going to do 3. I think it's 3.3. Is that good? 3.3. Yep, and we're going to call that site. There we go. Right, so that's installing all the bits and pieces. We don't have a database at the moment, so I'm just going to skip through all of this. That's no problem. That's fine. Okay, cool. And then Symfony has its own, well, PHP has its own internal server. In fact, I've done video tutorials on that. So we could use that. That is why I have 2 tabs here. Okay, let's open that up. Let's do an ls, go into cd into site. And then it's, what is it? To bring that up, php bin console. I believe it's server run. There we go. Cool. So that's running. That's why, because what I needed is this bit here to be the output. So now if I go into that address, copy that, go into, oh, I've moved my windows. I need a second screen. So what am I looking for? Browser here. There it is. Right, boom. There we go. So we've got Symfony running, which is great, and it's running in that directory, which is fine. And if I go back to the terminal, we can see that request was made. If I bring that back a bit. So there, that request was made and it came back as a 200 OK. Fantastic. Which means that I've got this free to play with. Cool. Let's just clear that. Right, so what I'm going to do now is start just coding this stuff up. Let's just have another sip of the old beer. Okay, right, so what's the first thing I need to do? Let's go into tutorial. So we should have Apache up here. That's all been added. That's great. I'm going to wait for it's currently indexing everything, so I'm just wait for PHP Storm to work out what it's wanting to do. Excellent. So all right, so we have the app. I suppose the first thing I need to do is just change the git ignore to basically go Apache and then site vendor. If I can spell that, vendor. Everything out of that. Okay. So that's blank. I'm wondering what branch I'm currently running in. Let me just check that out. Branches. Okay, I'm on master. Okay, I'm just going to create a new branch just quickly. And call that develop. Git branches. Just want to make sure that that has been created. Current branch is developed. Cool. And then what I'm going to do. The reason why I've put this in Apache is because I can have another folder in here called MySQL, and I can have a Docker file in there for Apache and a Docker file in there for MySQL when that's been constructed. And what I'll do is just remove this and change the virtual host to look down into here. So that's fine. The big change between, well, there's been lots of changes, but one major structural change in terms of Symfony 2.8 and Symfony 3 is, of course, where the console lives. It's not anymore in app. It's now in bin, which, in my opinion, makes a lot of sense because it is you run it like a binary file. In fact, if I double clicked on there, you have that at the top there. So you're running it through PHP, which makes sense. Also, var that also has the logs. So beforehand it was just logs and cache. So also what I need to do also if I go into there, oh no, that's looking good. So that's done. Logs and cache. That's fine. Okay, let's just cancel that. Okay, let's close those down. We don't need that. Oh dear. Oh dear. Project PHP Storm appears to have crashed. Brilliant. Come on. All right, hang on a minute. Let's see if I can bring this back from the dead. Let's bear with me a minute whilst I faff about with this. View, window, restore default layout. There we go. Click on. There we go. It was just not. Right. So the SRC bits, we've got the app bundle in here, which I'm going to put most of the assets and stuff in. But back in the Trello board, what I wanted is to have a series of different managers, especially for the in the admin here. So video manager and course manager, user manager and shop manager. So user manager we can play with FOSS user. That's no problem. I think the video manager, course manager, and shop manager are just going to be bundles that I create bespoke. We're not going to worry too much about the admin today. Like I said, I just want to get like a replica of that holding page up and running. So I could just run this all through the app bundle, which has been created for me here. That's probably the simplest thing to do. And if I go into app and resources here, in base we have this, which I believe is the what the Symfony default is actually running from. Let's just have a look. Index dot. Yeah. So that here. Let's bring that back. This is the default. Read the documentation and learn. Blah de blah de blah de blah. So I'm going to lay this out the way I would normally lay this out. So where you have your resources up here, I would have the resources down here, and also, whoops. What am I looking for? In config, there is a routing file which goes just to app controller. So I would probably have another routing file within there. Where are we? In app controller. Maybe I should just call it holding bundle rather than app controller, because technically it is a holding page. I might do that instead, and just keep the app controller clean. Yeah, I might do that. I can always change it later on, but I'm not sure whether I want to just muddy up app at the moment because of all the other bits that I want to include. So thinking out loud here, what I can do then, let's see, unless I need to actually go into all of this. So it's in here, and it's in there. CD into Apache, into site. Okay, cool. Clear that down. And then, so what I'll do it nice and slowly, but what I'm going to do on, where I haven't even got that up yet. Sorry, terminal. That's what I was trying to play with. Let's bring that down to there, just to make some room. So we're in here, and I can do PHP bin. Oops. Or I could just do bin. Sorry. Bin. Bin console, and if I did list, then it's going to list all the bits and pieces out. What we're looking for is the generate bundle bit here, to generate a new bundle. So we can do that again, but just generate the bundle, and then it's going to ask, what kind of, the configuration and how the bundle is going to work. So here it's saying, are you going to be using this across multiple applications? We're not. So we're just going to do no. We're going to give the bundle a name. So in this case, it's just going to be holding bundle. Pretty simple. It's going to be in the SLC directory. And for this, I'm tempted to just use YAML. I might change that later on. Yeah, that's what it. Okay, so what happened there? I need to put it into the app kernel. That's fine. Yeah. So what the problem has, the issue there is that the autoloader hasn't been updated, but that's okay. We can do that ourselves. Excuse me. So what that has done, if I go into the tutorial, we've added this in here called holding, and we've given a resource of routing.yaml because we're using YAML instead of annotations. I prefer that personally. I don't like mixing routing with controllers, although some other frameworks do it really nicely. But hey, but now we've got our holding bundle in here, so we have our own config bits and pieces here. So we got our routing file, which goes into there, which means that I can actually, excuse me, I can play around with this a little bit, and we should have a default controller in there, which is fine. Which should just go to resources and go into views, go into index, which is just hello world. Now, the confusing thing, I suppose, is the fact that that is running off of slash, and so is this. If I go into app and go into resources, not in resources, sorry, in config, in routing, in routing, it's going straight to the app bundle here. Although that is underneath, so that will hit first. So technically, if I go back to the browser, which is not this tab, there we go. We get this, which is it's now landed on that slash, but it's saying that the class can't be found because of that issue that happened with the autoloader. So we're just going to fix that up first. So go back into the tutorial. The problem there, of course, is that the app kernel, which was here, so it's saying it's got this new holding bundle, but it can't find it. Okay, so the problem is that it wasn't able to update the composer file. That's all looking fine. I might change that to be 7 because I'm not running that 5.59. Yeah, that looks fine to me. Soft packages are true. Bear with me a moment. Just something has flashed up on my screen, and I need to solve it, sort it. Okay, sorry guys, just reading through some bits and pieces to do with something completely irrelevant from what I should be doing, but something has just pinged up. Okay, so what I need to do then is change the way Composer loads this stuff. The way Composer and Symfony was working beforehand has slightly changed, so we need to just address that. The way in which the class map gets changed, or the way in which the autoloader gets altered, I should say. So let's go back into here. So here we've got autoload. Can you see? Let's bring that back up a little bit here. There we go. We've got autoload, and it's saying that the PSR4 has that bundle, so we can add our own bundle as well. So I'm going to just try that now. So let's. Whoop, no, definitely not that. So we can put that in here. And that is holding bundle. Holding bundle, yep, that's right. src, and then that's where it lives. So holding bundle, and we don't need that anymore. Now what I need to do is reload the class map, and you do that using the dump autoloader mechanism. So I'm just going to save that now, and then go back into, if I can find that. My windows are just getting so messy, you know, they're just getting really messed up. Let's go back into, where is it? Here, the terminal. There we go. Yeah, that's good. That's good. So what I need to do is just type in composer and then dump. Whoops, hyphen autoload like that. And it's going to generate the auto-loading files. And what I'll do is I'll just show you what all of that meant. If I did a cat into vendor, I believe is it in? Well, there is an autoload.php, but I don't think it's that. No, it's not. It's in composer. There is a particular file, autoload class map. And what we're doing is we're giving sort of a key value pair of where all the bits and pieces live. So this is all the bits and pieces in the vendor, but there is somewhere also an autoloader dump. Autoload PSR4. Here we go. Autoload PSR4, and so here is all the bits and pieces for that as well. So let's just Control C, and here it's got the app bundle, but it doesn't have the one that we've just there, holding bundle. So it's in alphabetical order. So that's basically what it's done is it's basically just dumped that out, and it's basically mapped anything that goes to holding bundle in the namespace goes there, right? So that's the base directory, and then that's it. It's basically a good way of sort of condensing, I guess you would say, the all the classes into sort of logical groupings. So let's clear that down. We don't need that anymore. So now if I go back into, where are we? Where have all of my windows gone? Browser, there we go. Refresh this page. There we go. We get to the hello world, which is the basic stuff that what am I trying to say? The generate bundle has produced this hello world stuff. Okay, that's fine. Okay, that's all the noddy stuff out the way. That's all good. So let's go back into here then and start carving this sculptured website. Oh dear. So let's go to, and the hello world is just this, right? It's just that. That's all it is. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do before I even do anything else is I'm going to commit this into the develop branch before I do anything else. Otherwise, it's going to be a humongous commit. Otherwise, you know, it's already got 43 inversion files. So let's do that. And again, I don't think you can see this from the stream. So just bear with me a minute. So I'm just going to, adding Symfony 3.3. I believe it was 10 or something, 3.10. Yeah, adding Symfony with basic holding bundle. Okay. So it's having to perform a code analysis. No, just send it all up. Send it all up. That's all good. Throw it over the fence. Okay, so that's done. That's now, everything's not red anymore, which is nice. So with the views then, we have, we're going to have different views. We're going to have lots of views and we're going to include them in. We're going to sort of render them in. So the first thing here, I guess, is going to be the base view. I mean, the base view really should be something in here, right? So base like that. So we can alter that slightly, and we can include that in. The way that it's been included in here, in here, is like so, where it extends base. And if I did that, put that up there like this, and then go into, where is it? Close that off. What's that? End block. End block. Come on, scroll down. And now I'm not sure if this is going to strictly work, because I might have to change the path to the base file. But essentially, if I did, just to try this out, so that's meta, and then so it's just going to have that of welcome. Let's bring that out a little bit. It's got some JavaScript bits and pieces. That's fine. I'm just going to put it in foobar just to ensure that that works. And then go into... Oh, I did that without showing you the browser. I'm sorry. Let's just bring that up to make it a little bit more readable. So there we go. So we've now extended that. So that's basically a crash course in extending twig templates, basically. Very simple, which is why I love it so much. It's, you know, you can just throw things together really quickly. So that, yeah, there we go. That's the base. And what I've done is I've just extended that. So what we can do now, therefore, is in this actual base file, is we can do a similar thing to what we had in, where are we? Let's close that down. In index. So this is kind of the framework, I suppose you would call it. So if we did everything from there, and we probably need that, possibly need the row. No, I think we're good with that. So let's copy that. Go back into Apache site. Where am I? App. Resources, base, and then paste that in. And then close that off. Whoopsie. Bring that out a little bit. Save that. Okay. Bear with me a mo. My phone is just going a bit crazy on the table. I don't know if you can hear it. Oh my god. So many messages. Yep. Okay. Right. Okay. Basically, people trying to get hold of me. That's fine. Okay. So we can save that. And then, so that's trying to access a style sheet there. So we can play with that in a minute. That's no problem. But essentially, if I was to refresh the browser, it should just look slightly different. It's got the how to code well bit in there, and it's got the title, which I don't think you can see on the stream, but hey ho, it is working. Believe me. So the next thing we can do, we can focus on the style sheet. I guess that's probably a good thing to do, and we do that in the actual holding, bit itself. So in resources, we have a new folder, call it public, and then in public we have a folder, we call that CSS. That's fine. The sweet nectar of beer. And that CSS will be in here, CSS, holding CSS. Copy that, put that in there. Yes, I want to put that in there. Yes, I want to add it to the to Git. Fine. Okay. So now in resources base, and apologies if I'm flying backwards and forwards. Usually on a tutorial that I do on the Tuesday show, I go through each and every little bit so like subtly. This I'm just flying through it. So we need to map that to here. Now there's a couple of ways we can do this. We can say that the we can actually go straight to this as a sort of an absolute path, which I don't recommend. Or we can do like at holding bundle and then public CSS. Or we can publish this, which we probably should do, into the web folder here in bundles, which is probably what we should do. And if I went back to the terminal here, and if I did up list, there is there should be here we go, assets install. So that'll install assets under a public directory. So let's try that. Let's wang that through. Go up again. And can you see that it's found the assets and then pushed them in as copy? Now, copy means that it's like a hard copy. It's like it's not like a symlink or anything. It's not a soft copy. You have to run this every time you change some CSS. Now, this CSS works because of I know that the holding page works, so there isn't really a massive issue there. So what that has essentially done is it's created this. If I go into in here, we've got web, bundles, holding CSS, and then holding.css, which means that I can change the path to this to be web bundles, and then holding.css. Now, ideally, I mean, I said that I want to do this through gulp, right? So you have a gulp script that goes and minifies, finds all these things and minifies them. There's going to be more than one CSS file. There's going to be more than one JavaScript file. Fine. But for today, though, I think this is going to be okay, just for today. Right. Let me just so I can go through all this. Oh, I'm terribly sorry. Why do you guys have so many difficult names? Van Keroski, Van Ker, the dude with the orange text. He starts with Van. Sorry, I should have seen the chat beforehand. This is why I want to invest in a second screen, so I can actually see it in my face. You know, people talking to me whilst. Otherwise, I'm just gonna just not notice and continue working. So no, I do apologise. Sometimes I forget that I'm actually live on the internet. Maybe it's the beer. Anyway, let's save that now. And then have a look at my creation. Let's go back to browser. Refresh you. Okay, so maybe that hasn't worked. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so I'm just using Twig. It's just Symfony. It's Symfony 3, and I'm just using Twig here. So there's no biggie. So that's the it can't find it. I thought that was the problem. Can't find the resource. Okay, of course it can't, because that's not. Yes, okay, that's not the right path, is it? Yeah. Okay. All right, let me just play with this a minute. I think it's an @ symbol I need. As running it through as an asset, I suppose. We don't have aesthetic running. it because, well, the thing is with using aesthetic, it's not really used anymore in later versions, and I guess we need to just follow suit, I suppose. So what we can use is the twig asset rule. So let's try that. Paste that in like so, and then just put that as a string, so it needs to be in quotes. There we go. Okay. Still not picking it up. Bundles. Holding. I think that needs to be web. Right? How frustrating. I wonder if it's a htaccess thing that's causing this to be a problem. Web bundles holding. Oh. Oh, it helps if I spell things correctly, doesn't it? Web bundles holding and then CSS. Let's see, has that gone through? Web bundles holding and then CSS. Should work. Why isn't it working? There she is. There she is. Sorry, I'm my. Oh, I do apologize. You didn't see any of that. Right, I'm using asset as that's the inbuilt twig function, passing in this string here. We don't have to pass in web because it already knows where the assets live in the web folder. So then you basically follow this path here. So bundles holding CSS holding.css, and again the reason why that is in there and I'm not using this is because with that dump assets command that I gave, basically that's what's happened. So it's automatically put it into there. So any changes into there won't be reflected into here. So we have to be very careful. Any changes in there need to be dumped in there. And what you would normally do is you would run this through like I said, a gulp file to minify and combine all of the CSS together, doing it in sort of a watchy type way. So it's constantly checking for new changes. And you would probably have just a single CSS file with, like I said, everything minified into one. But there you go. That is picking that up nicely. Well, I say nicely. I mean it's just a basic test that has changed. You know, this thing here has changed. Let's bring that back down. So yeah, we can now start carving this up in a similar fashion. So let's go back into here, this stupid Windows. Right. Okay, so the next thing we've got now, we could put in the first row. Now we can start putting in some content. Now, if I scroll down a little bit further, let's close that up. We don't need that open anymore. This here is the old stuff, right? So if I go into here, we have, this is, you can kind of class this as the main section. So we have this piece of content there. Then we actually have the tabs itself. The tabs go all the way down to, I believe, here. So not here, all the way down to there. And then we've got a bunch of stuff on the sidebar. Then we've got a blank footer. And then we have some other bits and pieces, and then the JavaScript bits and pieces too. So I'm just going to go from like a top-down approach and just attack each part of this individually. Excuse me. So the next part is this bit here. So we go row and then straight into that. Now this, I guess, could be in the header as well. So let's just copy that. Go up into, let's just bring that back, up into base. Oops. So you could do that. That's section 9. That's fine. And then you could probably under here close off the section like that. Close off the div. Because the next thing that's happening after this is the aside bit. No PHP Storm. Do as I say. Come on. No. Seriously, no. There we go. Okay, so that will have the tabs in. All right, so what I'm doing at the moment is just laying down the foundations. So here we have a bunch of aside stuff. Let's just double check because I've got a problem there. So that's head, that's div, that's fine. I'm just basically comparing. Oh, there. That's because that's why PHP Storm didn't like it. I didn't close the div. And then we've got section, and then that div there is that one there. So let's just bring that out a little bit. So that was like that. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Let's save that. So the next sort of level, I guess, if we're going down the node tree here, so we're working through each one of these. I'm going to work on the tabs in a minute. This is what's going to be inside there. But if we were to go through the node tree, the next thing on this level at least is going to be the sidebar on the right hand side. So that is, if I scroll all the way back to the bottom, down to here. So we've just hit that section. It should be highlighted right at the bottom. There we go, section. So now we have this aside. So I'm going to copy that, and then copy that footer too. So I'm going to copy those things, go into base, and it was, I believe it was within that. Fine. Okay, so that's cool. Excellent. Yeah, that looks good. Now, really, the footer should be in its own base footer, and really the sidebar should be in its own sidebar block. We'll work on that in a minute, you know, once I've got the tabs running. But this should give us a bit more structure now. If I was to refresh the page a little bit, it should, yeah, give us a bit more. Let's just bring that back to normal viewing. Yeah, all right, so now we have that. So basically this is the aside on the right, and the reason why that's happened is because I think I said beforehand I'm using Flexbox. So we have under here, and it's pretty small, I do apologize, but we've got our section, which is 9, which is this thing that I've got highlighted here, and then we have aside. Basically col is 100%, and then col, and then 9 or col hyphen, and then a number. That number represents how many boxes, I shouldn't have done that, how many boxes within that can you fit. So in this case it's going to be 9, in that case it's going to be 3, because it's using the flex grid, and I defined the flex basis of each one of these things. When we because it's developed in a mobile first kind of point of view, the col hyphen and then the number doesn't get used whenever it's whenever it's in small screens. Col is set automatically to 100%, and therefore it goes to 100%. Okay, so let's now start adding the tabs. Now the tabs, let's go back into the tutorial here. The tabs, I have a bit more beer. Oh no, that's frothing up. Hopefully that won't go over the top. Okay, so yeah, no, that looks all right. So okay, so the tabs. If I scroll all the way back to the bottom and go into the old index file, huge amounts of divs, huge amounts. Like basically got divots. This thing. So we have we go straight into tabs, and then we have like the tab itself. Now there's a couple of ways I can do this. I could actually create like a tab. Yeah, if I was to think of it in kind of a generic manner, because we might have things that have more than one, we might have more than one type of tabs, right? So you could create yourself a tabs controller and then render the controller into the Twig template, or I could just have like a tabs template maybe and pass parameters to it, which is probably the easiest thing, to be honest. So up here in holding, not in that one, in views, what I'm going to do is create a new controller. Or am I? Let's think. Maybe not for now. But what I will definitely do is create a new folder in here. We're going to call this tabs. And we're going to have a new, we're going to basically sort out this directory structure. So we've got tabs in here. We've got another file in here. We're going to call this navigation, like so. And then we're going to have content. And in content, I'm going to have like tab1.txt, tab2.txt, tab3.txt. But I'm actually going to, so maybe I shouldn't have called that tabs. Anyway, so content will be, yeah, tab content. Okay, okay. No, I'm kind of thinking out loud and doing it as I go, so you'll have to bear with me. None of this is planned. This is just completely ad hoc. So it probably won't make much sense until it's done. But I guess what I'm trying to achieve is like having that as the navigation. So I'm going to copy that in to here. So we just do a new file, and it's going to be, and we're just going to call it tabnav.twig.html.twig, twig, like that. Yes, paste that in. So that's the navigation of the tabs in tabnav. And then in each of these sections here, so we have a section for every, so we have tab selection, and then we have that. Hang on a minute. Now this is making me think a little bit more. So in tabs, we could actually have new file. Let's do base. Yeah, base or not base. Tab. Tab container. .html.twig. So tab container is going to have a reference to tab nav and a reference to each of the tabs. And then in index, I'm just going to include tab container, and there you go. That should pull through. So that's cool. The whole point of this is basically that if I was to want another tab, then it'd be very easy to just put that in. Basically, I'm creating myself a pattern to follow. And again, I go back to this saying that this isn't the way I want this to look, you know. But I just want this holding page running. So yeah, and I'm just sort of playing at the moment, seeing how things go. So we've got tabs. That's the ID. So that's going to go into the tab container, and then we're going to just close that off. But we've also got another section here. Let's go into here we go, in index. We've got course tabs itself, so that's going to be included. But we've got this tab course. We've got this course selection as well, so that's going to go into there. Close that off. It doesn't have a class, that's fine. So we're going to include the tab nav here, and then we're going to include each and every tab content. Okay, cool. And then in index, we're just going to include the tab container. And we could pass in some parameters into that, which would then pass into parameters into these things as well. So that's all good and fine. Cool. So, for example, let's just dress this up. So we've got. Actually, what I'll do, my mind is going like a million miles a minute at the moment. So I'll just slow it down and work on this first, I think. So, what I need to achieve is a way of bear with me a minute. Yeah. So in index here, where we have hello world, we simply need to include it, right? So that's the wrong thing. That's what we need. We need to include that file. Now that goes into tabs. That is in tab. Oops. Container.html. Twig, like that. And because it's an include, you can actually do with and then pass in a bunch of vars. That should be that's a string, so that should be like so. Now I'm not too sure whether that's going to pick that up from this directory. I don't think it will. I mean, what you could do is this tab section itself could even be in its own controller. In its own bundle. So you could have a tabs bundle, I guess. But ideally, what you would do is something like this. So you would have holding bundle, and then it would be tabs. And then tab container, and then HTML. Let's just see if that works. I mean, it should do, hopefully. Fireworks. I don't know if you can hear them, but the fireworks are just going nuts. Of course, it's going to be not really correct there. I've been working on APIs for like the past couple of months, so it's been a while since I've played with Twig. I'm sure. I don't think it's double. No, I think double is on the last one. Nope. Nope. Or is it like this? Nope. It might be because I haven't got a controller for this. And I haven't put it in default. That's probably why. Yeah, I reckon that might be why. Okay, so I don't really want to put it in default because that basically ruins the structure of it. Yeah, so I think perhaps what I'll do, I think maybe I need to just check the documentation. No, it's not finding it. Okay, what I'm going to do is just alter this a little bit. So it's not going to be in this sort of fancy structure. I think I'm going to probably put that within there, to be honest. Let's see if we can do that. Yep, that's fine. Yes to all the things. We're going to just remove that from there. And then what we can do, whoops, on index, is change that to be default because that's the controller. And then that's going into tabs like that, and then that's going into tabs container, tab container .html.twig. It's a bit messy. I will change it. Holding bundle. Do. Wow, that's like so loud outside. I hope that is just fireworks being shot. Could it just simply because I haven't done that, maybe? There it is. Okay. Of course, it's case sensitive. I'm going to just attempt to do that outside because I'm not a fan of putting that in there, to be honest. Let's try that. Whoops. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so the index. So now it's not there. It's just tabs. Let's try that. No, it does need to be in there. Fine. It does need to follow bundle and then controller. Yeah, I thought as much. I thought as much. Okay, that's fine. Let's just refresh that back. So, okay, so that now goes into here. So I remove all of this stuff. That's all of this stuff. Sorry, like so, and then in index. So index is going into holding default tabs tab container, which lands into there, which means that we can then now do another include of that in here or up there like that. And this is going to be default tabs. It's not going to be tab container. It's going to be navigation. Oops. And I think I called it, whoops, tab nav .html.twig. And if I was to go to the browser in here, we can see that the this has been displayed. Padding isn't great. We need to include that bit, that paragraph, to break that down. But it's slowly making shape. Let's go back to the tutorial again. Because what we're missing, of course, if we scroll down to you, we're missing this part here. So let's copy that. Like so, copy that, go all the way up to the top, go into... where are we? Index. So it's that bit there. So refresh, and we should see, yeah, that come out through. So it's slowly making shape. Now we need to fit the tabs in, which is going to be into here. So let me just drink some more, and then we can work through that. Right, so the next thing, like I said, is the actual tabs. Scroll all the way down to that, click on you, and then we have these tab sections. Let's bring that out a little bit. So this is where everything gets a bit much. Scroll all the way down. I'm basically going to copy the whole thing. The whole thing. So it starts from... We're already in section. So it starts from there, goes all the way up to here, I believe. Oh, actually, does it? No. Starts from there. That's section. It's a section on section, isn't it? So it's the last section. That one. You can copy all of that. Drag that out a little bit. Go into here. Well, go into, we'll just bung it into there for now. Make some room. There we go. So now we're going to do each tab by section, right? So in content, we're going to create a folder for each tab section. So we have featured, like so. And we have another one called, what do we call it? Udemy. We have another one called Skillshare. We have another one called Manning, which is Manning Publications. And what I'm going to do is just put in each one of these things into there. So yeah, I think that's how I'm going to do it. So the featured block starts from that section, ends in this section. I'm going to just close that down, go into here. I mean, I suppose what I could do is just have a file called featured. Maybe that's what I should do. Maybe that's what I should do. So featured underscore tab dot html dot twig. Oops. Nope. Damn it. That's not what I wanted. Featured underscore tab. Actually, I think I'm going to do tab underscore, keep it namespace, domain name, tab featured dot html dot twig, like that. Yep. Paste that in, save, and then, so let's just remove all of this. We don't need that. The next one is Manning, which is you. So that is going to be in here. So this is tab underscore Manning dot html dot twig. Like so. Let's just bring that back up and close the section off. Ugh, come on, PHP Storm. Try and work out what I want to do. Next one, so we can remove that section. Is Udemy. Save that. Go into new file. Tab underscore Udemy dot html dot twig. There we go. Yep. Bring that back up. No. Fat fingers. Bring that all the way up. And I'm obviously missing a section here. There we go. Okay, so that's good. That's looking good. There was another one, which was, I'm missing a section here. Why? Oh, damn it. That section goes to here. Sorry. That was Udemy. There we go. Okay, so the next one in here is Skillshare. So that goes straight down to here. Copy that. And then go into new file. And I'm going to call it tab underscore skill share dot html dot twig, like so. Refresh, save, boom, 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 and there's that one. That's probably the biggest one. Okay, so let's just check it. We've got featured, we've got Manning, which is only one, we've got Skillshare, which is that lot, and then we've got Udemy, which is that lot. Okay, cool. In navigation, we've got the tabs, which is just that. That's all good. And then in the container, we have this. Now, what I'm going to do is just include each one. So we have holding default tabs and its content. That's what we want. And that is going to be tab underscore featured.html. And then we've got another one underneath. And basically this means that I can just play around with each one of these sections individually, not have to worry about screwing up any of the HTML and in anything else. It's kind of my preferred way of working, I suppose. We have Manning. So that's Manning Publications. Next one is Skillshare, I believe. Was it Udemy? I think it was Udemy, actually. And then after that, we have our Skillshare. And also, I can alter the order of this so easily by just moving these up and down and stuff. Okay, so we're going to go back to the browser now, refresh the page and see what has happened. Let's go back to, where is it? Browser, there we go. Excellent, so it's starting to look a little bit more like that, like my basic holding page. Not sure what. Something was bleeping in my office. It's a bit weird. Lots of noises happen in my office, but not that kind of noise. I think we're okay. So the images need to be sorted out, as well as this JavaScript. Well, there is no JavaScript that needs to be applied. JavaScript is a bit like a normal CSS asset in the sense that it gets added to the public resources. So here we need to have another new file, new directory. We're just going to call this CSS, not CSS. Why would you call JavaScript CSS? Like that, and we're going to scroll all the way to the bottom here, grab tabs.js, copy that, scroll all the way to the top, push this into there, like there. Yes, I will add it. Cool. And then what we do is very similar to how the other asset was being added, but what I'm going to do is just copy the, it's right at the bottom, isn't it? This here. So that's the script, and it goes. Oh, sorry. So what I've done, sorry, is I've copied the tabs file into this JS folder in public here. So what I'm going to do is in the index file, there is a block. I think I do believe I saw a block for JavaScripts. Which I can harness. So in the index file of that, what I can do, let's just bring that back like that, is push this into that block. So the block I believe was called, let's see that, JavaScripts, like that. So I can literally just do this. So in here we can go into index, grab that, we can start that block off and then end that block. Basically, that is just going to plonk all of this in. Now we need to alter how that works because it just can't find that in that directory. It's very similar to how we had it before in the base file here. In the base file, right at the top, we had asset, and then that. We need to do a similar thing. So back in, where are we? Here. That needs to be bundles holding JavaScript tabs. Is it tabs or tab? Let's see. Tabs.js. Like so. But what we must do before we do any of this, let's save that, is to actually publish those assets. So if we did, where are we? Where are we now? Go back into the terminal, which is this one here. If we just run this again, we need to publish that. And that's gone and found everything in the holding bundle and copied it over in the assets. So we should now, in the tutorial, we should have in web bundles, yeah, we've got JavaScript, tabs, CSS, holding.css, which means that we should, yeah, if I go back to the browser here, you can see that this is changing. So that is actually working. So it's pulled in the JavaScript. The next challenge is, of course, these images, which I suppose isn't much of a challenge. I mean, it's an asset, right? And this is kind of like the way I would build a site. You know, I would kind of like clump things together. So I'd deal with the assets as one hit, deal with the structure as one hit, that kind of thing. And the structure, I'd work it like a, you know, foundation stuff. So work on the base HTML first, and then slowly go into the twig bits and pieces individually. So the next thing, or I guess the last thing to finish this up, is the images. So let's do that now. Let's go into the tutorial, go back up to the, where are we? This is the old site here. We're going to copy the whole file, the whole directory. And we're going to go up to, where are we? Here. So we got public bits in here. So we're just going to paste that whole thing, all of those things into there. So we have images, courses, and the way we need to we need to change the HTML to find these assets in a similar sense to finding the JavaScript asset, which is like that. Because what I'm going to do now in terminal, run that again, whoops, which means that in here, in the web, the images have been added. And that means that I now can have access to those images through, where are we? Tabs, content, through each one of these. So let's start using this one first. So let's paste that one in like that, like so. And this is going to be bundles holding, but instead of JS, it's going to be images, and it's going to be the name of the image. So it's going to be that, like so. Yeah. So let's just let's just remove that now. I know that this isn't very good SEO. It needs to have like alt tags and all that stuff. I'm not fussed at this present stage. Let's copy that right now. Let's scroll down to this part here, paste that in, but change that, and it's going to be a bit laborious, unfortunately. This is what I need to do for each and every one of them, which is a bit of a pain. This is where human error comes into play, because I'm probably going to do something to screw it up. Okay, so that should have sorted out the holding page. I'm going to just double check that before I go any further. Refresh. Okay, there seems to be, which one was I working on? That was featured, so that should have been the first one. Yeah. Okay, so that didn't actually work. Yeah, nine errors, all of which can't find the assets. Okay, so there's a problem somewhere with this. Okay, let's work on one, because it's probably the same error in all of them. So let's focus on one of them at a time. Let's scroll back to here, just double check what in base here. So it's definitely going to assets or asset bundles and then all that stuff. That is the thing that works. So let's go on to there. It's image src asset. Small screen. paste that in asset. Yep, doesn't have an S. All the things. And it looks to only have, bring that out a bit more, go into here. Yeah, no, it does have, of course it has two, yeah. So that would have gone into, images, courses, right, that's probably why I've gone and given it another level. Another level. Yeah, I've gone straight into bundles holding images. It needs to be courses, I believe. Save that. Refresh the browser. What I've done here is I've just put in courses there. So it should now, hopefully, fingers crossed, if I can find the right window to refresh. Yeah, so there we go. So my Docker Motion course has been loaded. So now we can load the other ones using that same sort of principle. So let's go back into, not that one, this one. So it is courses. That was the change. Courses. Next one down. Courses. Okay. Cool. Copy all of those things. Well, not all of those things. I don't want to copy the whole thing. I want to copy that. Save. Go into Manning. And then Docker in Motion. That is exactly the same one. So that's perfectly fine. Go into the next one. Go right to the top. This is the one which has lots. So that is this one. I need to alter these images because they are the right ones, but they're just not called the right thing. So this is Skillshare. I'm using a Udemy image, but I need to make these all images conform, have like their own little watermark for the different types of courses, because I think that would be far beneficial. Otherwise I'll have lots of images that are all the same, which is just pointless. Okay, so then copy that one down to the next one. I do apologize. This isn't the most thrilling thing to watch, someone putting in paths for different images, but it has to be done. Unfortunately, this kind of grunt work. Otherwise, this site isn't going to work. It's going to just look empty. And what I'm going to be doing later on is putting all of this in like a content management system. So I mean, I'm working on a whole bunch of courses now at the moment. I mean, I'm still working through, and I've done a lot of manning in the last day or so. A lot of editing for manning publications for the Docker course that I'm doing, which is available at the moment on Meep, which is their Manning Early Access program. I think that's good. Next one. But I've got lots of courses that are basically waiting in the wings for Udemy and Skillshare, things that I've already done before, that I just need to sort of spend some time to actually write proper, the course curriculum and stuff like that. And also, I would like to have this. I would like to have a content management system where I can generate my own sort of discount codes, and also sort of synchronize with the discount codes that are on Udemy and Skillshare and so forth. And somehow I'm going to need to synchronize that to Facebook as well, because I've got the How to Code Well Facebook page as well, which I post to quite regularly. But Facebook page has its own ability, has an ability to access the Skillshare and Udemy stuff through the shop. But again, I need to synchronize that. So I think that has done. Let's save that now. Go back into the browser here. And let's refresh and see what's actually happened. See if we've got any issues. No, that looks fine. So those 3 have been added. With Manning, we just have the 1 at the moment. Udemy, we have those 3. That looks good. Skillshare, we have more than that. That looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that, actually. I mean, obviously, it's not going to look like this at all when it's actually live and out of this sort of building stage, I suppose. But I guess today what I really wanted to focus on is just putting this into Symfony, so I have a foundation to work off of, and we can now produce. I can actually produce some proper bundles. I'm not going to have it in tab form. I'm actually going to have these as separate pages, I think. But you know, it's slow. I don't want to say it's slowly getting there. Well, it is slow. It's very slowly getting there, but it's not where it's going to be. You know, there's going to be a page for each one of these sections. There's going to be a like I said, a subscriber thingy for newsletters and all sorts of malarkey going on. But I'm pretty happy with that. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to commit this. I'm conscious that I've done a lot of work, and the last commit I did was simply just installing Symfony, and I've gone and added all sorts of stuff. Let's go back to here. So I'm just going to tidy this up a little bit. Let's go to that. I don't think you can see any of this on the stream, which is a shame. But I'm essentially just going to write a commit message for all of this, which is creating holding page in Symfony using tabs. Okay. Commit and push all of that stuff. That's all good. Now, when we go back, let's go back to the Trello board and see where we actually are with everything. So we've created a Symfony basic application, but it's not, it isn't where I want it to be at all. I want to work on a gulp script. I want to put it in Docker, and I would like to have a Jenkins and a build pipeline. These Jenkins and a build pipeline, basically, and Docker, because of the registry, require me to invest in some kit to actually have that separated from everything else that I've got in this office. I really want to lock it down. So I'm going to think about that in a little bit more detail. I think at least with this, I mean, that's moving in the right direction. I think next thing I'm going to focus on, which I won't do today, will be the data fixtures. Well, the database schema for actually figuring out how I want this database to be structured, and maybe coming up with some basic entities around that. So considering things about the courses, considering things about the actual YouTube videos. I've got something like, I think I've got like 160 videos now, and I would like to have them on this website embedded in, and I would like to have the ability to either do it automatically or have an automated way of having them in a sort of an unpublished manner where I can then have a look at them, maybe change the titles, maybe change maybe even change not the thumbnail, but certainly change the playlist, because some of the playlists that I'm running off of on on the YouTube, they don't necessarily fit in perhaps a course type manner. So I might deal with that. That's why I need this CMS thing. This is why I need the admin video manager thing. That's why I need the course manager bits and pieces. So they'll come. They'll come. I guess really though, those are kind of like the minimum. They're kind of like they're not nice to haves. I do need those, but I don't think I need them straight away. Like this page at the moment that I've got, it does a good job, I suppose, in a very basic manner. But anyway, I'm gonna keep on rambling. But anyway, I'm gonna shoot off because it's getting quite late. We've gone for about 2.5 hours now, and I do feel like there's been some progress being made. Although I would like to spend some time probably off of the stream focusing on it, because I'll be able to fly through a lot of stuff and tick a lot of these boxes off, I believe. But anyway, thanks ever so much for watching, guys. Do subscribe to the How to Code Well channel if you haven't done so already. And I will speak to you next time, usually next Saturday. And hopefully it won't be as late as it is today. But thanks ever so much for watching. Happy coding, and I'll speak to you again soon. Cheers. Bye-bye.